Welcome everybody. So let's firstly ground ourselves firmly in reality. So this is my photo during the landing procedure at Heathrow near London in the UK, and I'm on an Airbus A330-300 aircraft, and of course we're looking at the left hand wing here with the, I believe they're called spoilers, are up, which help with the deceleration of the aircraft, and you can see the hydraulics and everything underneath them there. And they're in about the middle of the wing. The other thing you'll note is there's a gap running the length of the wing here where you can see the ground on the other side. You'll also note how thin the trailing edge of the wing is there, where at the spoilers you're looking at, I estimate like a few inches in thickness. Okay. So let me show you a similar photo on the other side where I was returning to the US. So yes, here you go, is the right hand wing, and again you can see right through to the ground on the other side. Okay, so while I'm here, let me show you a few other photos of interest. So this one is while we're still sort of cruising, and it just gives you a nice idea of how thin the wings are. And I also caught a nice photo of it looks like a quarry. Let me zoom right in here. It's impressive how much detail you can capture, you know, with your smartphone out the window there. Look at the I think those must be houses or something there. So we've been led to believe that these jet aircraft use a huge amount of jet fuel, and this is an illustration from one of the Airbus manuals supposedly showing hazardous materials, but it's, as you will see, it's completely preposterous what they're suggesting. It's just ridiculous. So let's just take what they're saying is the outer tank there. Okay, they're claiming that the wing there has an outer tank of 3,650 litres capacity, or 964 US gallons. Okay, now let me show you how ridiculous that is. That's just impossible. So let's have a look at this. Is what just 100 litres looks like. Okay, so that's 4 foot high, about 3 foot deep, right? And then this is my photo of what 3,600 litres would look like. So it would be over 2.5 meters wide, or 8.9 feet, by 2.5 meters high, or over 8 feet. That would be like flying with like a brick wall on the end of your wing. That's just ridiculous, isn't it? Come on, this is fairy tale land, what they're suggesting. So let's go back to the hazardous material here. And so that's just 3,600 litres. The inner tank, so the main part of the wing, they're claiming it has 42,000 litres, or 11,000 US gallons. No, this is just a joke. We've somehow they've managed just to pull the wool over our eyes. You know, this is just an impossibility. As I showed you on the wing there, they're super thin to begin with, as you'd expect with an aircraft wing, and there's like there's a hole running down the middle of it, so there's no tank or anything, obviously, because it just wouldn't fit. You know, it's not like the they've suddenly invented like, or have like a Doctor Who TARDIS wings here, where you can cram all this liquid into non-existent space. That's just preposterous. They've managed to somehow over this fraud is been going on for decades, and how they've managed to get away with it is just beyond me. It's staggering. So to give you further proof that this is all pantomime, you know, they've been putting a fast one for all this time. Let me show you. I caught the refueling truck very handily, and the time the hose was attached to the wing, again, it was far too short. It was 12 minutes. Okay, so I don't know if you can see that, but it's the time there is 5:38. Okay, so let's have a look. So there's this fancy looking refueling truck. Okay, but that hose doesn't look particularly impressive for all the fuel that is supposedly being pumped into this aircraft. That doesn't actually look that impressive. But the point here is to note the time. So as I say, so that's 5:38 when the hose was being attached. Okay, and then at 5:50, so 12 minutes later, he's already finished, this chap. So for my flight, I worked out that they are claiming that from London to Washington would require about 46,000 litres of fuel, and yeah, they would have to be the rate they'd have to pump that fuel into the aircraft in just 12 minutes would be again impossible. But I also caught a little bit of video showing the procedure. So let's have a look at that. I didn't capture it all, but let's have a look. So there you can see the hose is attached to the craft, and as I say again, that doesn't look particularly impressive, and there was no indication of anything being pumped at like a very high pressure. You know, you never saw the hoses move or anything. Yeah, my camera kept sort of going out of focus there. And again, when I think it's in this one where when he's removing it from the ground, you know, that nothing is like dripping on the floor to show that any sort of liquid's being pumped at all. So you'll note this video, I don't know if you can see that says 4:46, but that should be 5:46, I believe. So this is towards the end of the supposed refueling procedure. So let's have a look at the final video here. So this is where he's detaching the hose from the wing. I mean, it's possible either, probably in all likelihood, it's not doing anything. They just attach it to something and it doesn't pump anything at all. Or I suppose it might be that might be the way they pump, you know, a little bit of water or the necessary water they need into the aircraft. But that's it. So yes, I think in a second you'll see him actually. Again, unfortunately, it goes out of focus, but you'll see him removing the hose from the ground. But yeah, because it's out of focus, you're not going to be able to see. But yeah, there was like, you would expect, like, if it was pumping some sort of liquid, that you would see like a little bit drip, but no, there was nothing. So I'm taking you back here to one of the cruising photos. So this is just, how they've managed to get away with this for all this time. But plainly, there's nothing in those wings at all, is there? I mean, given how thin you can't put anything. All that wing does is provide the aerodynamic lift for the craft. That is it. Nothing else. Those things on the bottom there, I wonder if they're to help with, you know, those like flotation aid, you know, if it has to dish on water or something. But you know, they could hardly hold anything either. But let me show you the scale of this fraud. So basically, they're not using any fuel at all. Okay. So let's look at, this is Q1 financials for the US airlines. Okay, and so they made just over 2 billion after tax profit. But look at the pre-tax profit, and what they're claiming their fuel costs were 7.5 billion. So where's all this money going? So they claimed 7.5 billion in fuel costs, of which there was no fuel. So someone is making a killing here, aren't they? So let's go back to, let's finish with this this joke of hazardous materials photo, to talk about, so if essentially they're not using really any fuel at all, how are these jet engines actually, what energy are they using to generate the thrust? I think what they discovered like 50 years ago or something is, once these engines are spun up, you know, the fans in these turbines are spun up, for cruising there is probably enough energy left over to keep the fan spinning with no extra energy required at all. And you know, the only sort of initial energy you need is to initially spin them up, which is what the auxiliary power unit is for in the rear of the craft. But how that is, I mean, look at that. So they're claiming the APU, it's called, abbreviation. They're claiming the little trim tank there has 6,300 litres. They've got their Doctor Who TARDIS impression, and that's just ridiculous. So, but as I say, yeah, I think once during takeoff, I was reading the fans spin up to like 10,000 revolutions per minute (RPM), which is like 4 times faster than, you know, a high velocity fan, you know, like floor fan you might have in your house. So if you imagine the amount of air that is sort of sucking in and blowing out the rear of this thing, that's where your thrust is coming from. I mean, what they do is these turbines, they compress, so it's spinning at high speeds, but they also compress the air, and then it's sort of spewed out the back at high velocity, and that's how you get your thrust. But as I say, I believe there's enough sort of energy left over most of the time to keep the fan spinning at the required speed with no extra energy input required. And it's just at the takeoff that especially where you need the extra energy there to get it up to that really high speed, and that could be provided. I mean, if I was designing an aircraft these days, you know, I mean, the Airbus A330 is a relatively new craft. You would do it via batteries, wouldn't you? Like a Tesla car, you would you know, charge up the batteries to so they had sufficient energy to, for a short time, super spin the blades of the turbine to give you that extra thrust you need for takeoff. And then once it's cruising, the energy input, you know, is going to be minimal. I of course might not have that exactly right, but I think that's a reasonable guess as to how this all works. So in closing, a few important things to say here. Obviously, the gig is up. This is like an extra tax on the people, isn't it? Hopefully this video will help to end this. But what also this highlights is the claim that jet aircraft are contributing to this so-called climate change. No, because they don't use any fuel. So that completely blows that argument out of the water as well. And one other consideration is, do these jet turbines, can they be used to for other things? You know, some others have claimed, because I'm not the first to point this out, about the so-called jet fuel hoax. But yes, others have also suggested that these jet turbines, are they, you know, can they actually be used to generate like relatively free energy? And I wouldn't be surprised, you know, if you like if you went into some of these power stations and all you find is actually some of these jet turbines are running. I would not be surprised in the least, given the scale of this fraud that they've been running. You know, what else are they not telling us?